All right. Back in February, I had the opportunity to attend a Learning Forward conference, and the guest speaker was this educational guru by the name of John Hattie. All right. For those of you who don't know John Hattie is a very important person in educational research. He has done over so many hundreds of thousands of meta-analysis pertaining to behaviors and effect size of students. All right. And when we say effect size, that's pertaining to not necessarily the size of the class, it's more so what are we doing to make an effect or to affect our students' learning. All right, so with the effect size, the general idea behind it is if you get a general normal score of 0.4 or 40%, that means you had some kind of effect on your students.
40% is an effect.
Or 0.4, yes. All right, so anything that's less than a 0.4, okay, that wasn't effective for that student. If they had anything higher than a 0.4, that was effective for that student. So in general, you have a sheet of paper that has sample scores, and if you notice there's a setup, there's an effect size score to the right of it, all right? Those effect scores basically are coming from a pre and post test sample scores that's saying, okay, if the kids, again, if they made over a 0.4, that means that what I did during that, in between the pre and post test worked, or if they made less than a 0.4, that means that it didn't work for that particular student. All right, so this is a great speaking tool, and of course when you have your PLCs, that you could look and say, okay, we did this in my class and I noticed this growth, or I did this and I noticed this didn't work out. So this is just a great, kind of a great way to kind of start your PLCs, or in addition to what you're already doing, to help out determine what's working for your students and what's not working. All right, I do have that file that I can send to you if you would like it. It already has the formulas and everything worked out for it. All right, but in general, again, effect size is going back to what is the most effective way of teaching our students. With John Hattie, his favorite, I guess his end all be all is know thy impact. It's basically saying that as teachers, we have a great impact on our students, believe it or not. All right, certain things we say, certain things we do towards our students, they take it and run with it, or they take it and they spread the bad news about it. We all know that. All right, so that's why he's saying you just have to know your impact. The mind frame, this taps into growth mind frame, which I don't know if you've all ever heard of Carol Dweck. She's another educational researcher that pretty much, her main thing is growth mindset. She did a study on, let's say, your accelerated kids, and then let's say your lower end or possibly your special ed kids. All right, those kids that were lower end or special ed, so to speak, let's say they were given encouraging words, they were given opportunities to improve, and over time, those kids improved. On the other end, those kids that were advanced and they were just well-to-do, they knew they would do fine, their scores actually dropped because they weren't really encouraged as much as those lower end kids. And it's just basically the general idea behind that is just changing your mindset. So all of that ties into this. Again, what we do as teachers matter, and being change agents. Do you know what a change agent is? All right. For those who don't, it's basically someone that's coming in and making a change for the better. All right. Every day we make a change for our students. All right. Again, that's going back to how we treat our students, how we encourage our students. We're the change agent for that student. All right. Again, I've already talked about mind frames from Carol Dweck. And from this point of view, the evaluator, which is you, how do I know this is working? How do I know my instructional strategies are working for my students? That ties back into the effect size. We've already talked about the change agent. The challenge, and I kind of like this. What is challenging to one student may not be to another. We all know this for a fact. What I do for Susie may not work for Johnny, or what I did for Billy may not work for Larry. We just have to find a happy medium and see what we can get the best results for our students from. And then assessment provides feedback, and that's another great one. It says feedback, but I'm going to lean into going to feed forward. All right. The reason why I say feed forward is because we want our students to take what we're saying and run with it. A lot of times with feedback, it's real straight and to the point. All right, you didn't do this right, go back and change it. Yeah, you got that right, but I need you to improve that. That's kind of vague. When you start breaking down, especially in math, once you break down and say, okay, I've seen you've done these steps. Okay, why did you do this? You kind of just getting them more involved. So that feedback or feed forward helps us out. So when you have your tests, be sure to provide great feedback. Be specific and explicit. All right? And here's the feedback. Those questions at the bottom, this also ties back into effect size. What are the students doing? Where are they going? How is the student doing? What gaps do I notice? What strengths do I notice? All right? So again, all of these tie back into effect size. All right? And again, this is just a brief description of what effect size is. I've already discussed it. Again, that sample that you have is just a sample of pre-test and post-test scores. Again, those scores to the right display the effect size. So if you notice, some kids scored greater than a 0.4. And the way I think about it, what's our growth for the SLOs? What are we requiring to show the growth?
We don't do SLOs. We don't do SLOs.
Oh, don't forget me. I'm thinking about high school. All right. Well, in general, for SLOs at the high school level, they want to see 30% growth. All right. So according to John Hattie, he's saying if you see 40% growth, that means that you're doing something right. So we kind of lowered the standard in a sense, but it still ties back to the effect size of what John Hattie is discussing. So what I'm going to show right quick is just what I've done on a personal level. It's kind of hard to see. All right, I've been tutoring a set of kids, 7th grade kids that are trying to advance to the 9th grade math course for next year. So we pulled about 7th grade students from Ms. Williams' advanced math class, just kind of catch them up, as well as get them up to speed with what's going on now. So when I started with these kids back in, I want to say the latter part of January, they came in, they did a pre-test, and then as time went on, we tutored, one-on-one attention. And now, as time goes on, as of today, 3 of them have done their post-test. I've got to get the other 3 in line. But if you notice, for instance, Miss Hillary, her pre-test was at 80, she went up to a 95. Her percent growth was 84%, but her effect size was 1.14. That's way above the 0.4. That means that one-on-one attention was perfect for her. All right? Same thing with Julia Milton. She went from a 65 to an 80, which is 23% growth. Again, her effect size was 1.14. So again, just to have that one-on-one attention with that student, it shows that they're paying attention, and that's what they needed. All right? Our man Alan Nowden went from a 60 to a 70. It was only 17%, but it's a 76% as far as a 0.76 effect size. So again, that one-on-one time with him was effective. Now, other things that tie into this is attendance, as well as when they do come, how involved are they? And I can say out of these 6, those 3 came the most. All right? If we met 10 times, they came at least 8. All right? So the effect size, and again, I just used the same formula what I used on there. The average that they made on their pre and post test, standard deviation, average standard deviation, then the effect size. So just in general, because I've only done these 3, my effect size is high. But I guarantee you, once these 3 come in, and if they don't improve, or if they improve enough, that effect size is going to drop just a little bit. All right? It's going to get closer and closer to 0.4. All right? I just wanted to show this because this is something you can take away. I also have these books that I've gotten from the conference. Feel free to look at them however you want to. I know the conferences with Learning Forward will continue up until I think the end of the year, maybe even lead into next year. But it's a very good conference to attend, just to be around like-minded people and to see a different perspective of education that we normally don't see. So just, I know with the TEACs, a lot of things they encourage you to do is go to these conferences and bring it back continually so you can reach that level 4. So I just encourage you to do so. You all have any questions for me pertaining to effect size or visible learning from John Hattie, please let me know. I'll gladly help out as much as I can. All right, any questions?
Is it like a formula they use on the effect size?
Yes, sir.
That's what I was about to say. What is the formula?
Yes, it's a formula. It's basically taking the post-test minus the pre-test divided by the average standard deviation. But all their formulas, it's all in there.
It's almost like how that growth thing goes with your milestones. You
Exactly.
kind of, you know some about it.
Can you
feel right.
email us like that little box?
Yes.
And then I can play with it?
Yes,
Okay.
I can do that.
Okay.
I'll send you, matter of fact, that sample that you have, I'll send
Yeah,
that,
that
but
would
it's
be
got it
cool.
all
I
in
can
there.
play with numbers.
Mhm.
I can do that. I just don't know how to do that.
Erase
So
those
Right.
numbers and plug yours in.
plug mine in and then add, cause I got 50 more kids.
And
But
that-
yeah, same thing.
Especially for you having, I know you got a student teacher, that'll give you a great opportunity to sit down with her and
Show
say,
her. Mhm.
this is what we did with these students, and you see how they've grown, but this is what we did with these, and they didn't.
Yeah.
So how can we go back to the drawing table and make it better?
And we do it with Excel files, but not exactly like that, but ours is a, where they are.
Okay. Okay. All right. Any other questions?
Would the pre-test and post-test be the only, assessments or the only method, measurement of exercise?
No, that was just something we did just to be quick. You can use all your tests. Of course, that's gonna be more that's in the formula, but you can use all of your tests to see if they've grown, if the effect size is making any change for the students. So that's just quick and easy to use because it's only pulling from two things as opposed to.
So if you insert more columns in that
Yes.
space between pre to post, it's gonna automatically calculate it into the formula?
I don't know.
I don't know.
That, Excel will do it for you.
Yeah, I don't
Yes,
think
ma'am.
Excel.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Excel, I don't know about that.
Yeah,
So
I'm
I
still
think you have to
learning
play with
that
it.
part of it, but it should be.
Yeah, I mean, as long as you get the standard deviation, you should be okay, but the problem is you can add stuff, but you still only be able to do 2. So,
Excel will do it.
No, you can do more.
Yeah, you can do more. Like I said, I'm not that well versed on the spreadsheet, but I know it's a way to be done.
You can calculate
but you'd
standard
have to,
deviation.
that's what I'm saying, but you'd have to add more.
Subtract and add.
Bottom
Subtract and add.
It'll take a range.
Yeah, it
It
would
does
take some
something with
playing with.
Yeah, you don't have to play with it though, the formula is in Excel automatically
you
does
just-
it for you.
Correct. But we'll talk more offline about that. Any other questions? All right, I appreciate it. Thank you all.
Give them the compacts if you have it.
Yeah, if you have your compacts, I'll gladly take them.
Oh, I